Robert Longstaff with us now, though, and we've been hearing about Robert's passion for organic gardening and, in particular, how he's now looking to spread the word across Oxfordshire with the founding of the Oxford Garden Project. This is really, we were just talking during that last song, a chance to bring it back to basics for gardeners who might have become rather lost in the overcomplication of the gardening system.
Indeed, indeed.
Why did you think that this was something that needed to be addressed, and why hasn't it been addressed before?
I think it's just part of where we... I mean, up to 100 years ago, you would move into an area, the guy next door would be growing something, he'd say, hey, these peas are really good, give you a handful of peas, and you'd grow. So you're growing something you know works in your area. And literally up until Second World War, that's the way it always was. And then since then, things have changed. Plant breeding came in because we had to get more food into the country. And then seed catalogues were coming along because you could then buy the seeds that were being grown for agriculture. So everyone became used to sitting there in the winter, looking at their seed catalogue, ticking off what they're going to have and buying their seeds that way. But that's really much a one-size-fits-all, because what's happening in Scotland at that time of year isn't what's going to be happening with us down here. And we've lost regional specialities, because now you open up a seed catalogue and there'll be 10 varieties of peas, but there are hundreds of varieties of peas out there, and some will grow better in my sand than will grow in the clay this side of Oxford. And so it's really a matter of knowing what's going to grow. Why fight it? Grow what works best in your area.
Has there been an element of detective work in this process for you, working out which species do flourish in Oxfordshire and speaking to people of previous generations who maybe had a more traditional approach to their gardening?
Yes, and it's from a point of view, it's not been easy because it's not really been handed down at this stage. Also, I do things with the Heritage Seed Library, which has been set up through Garden Organic to preserve the older varieties, because we now have a situation that EC law some years ago said that all seeds that are sold on the open market have to be on their common seed register, which means I produce a variety, I tell you what it's called, I pay you a large amount of money, then I can sell it. But if it's not on the register, you can't legally sell it. So overnight, about 80% of all the varieties just disappeared because it was not longer commercially viable to do them. The Heritage Seed Library now tries to collect, if your dad's been giving you pea seeds and his dad has said, and you've got some left over, you can give those in and say, these are Oxford pea, and they'll put that on and they give it out to people such as myself, which are seed guardians, to grow, to check, see, does it like it wet, does it like it damp, where's it best suited to. We can then bulk that up and it goes back out to other members of the Heritage Seed Library. So if you join for, I think it's £12 a year, you can get some seeds from them. They can't sell you the seeds, but you get 6 different varieties a year to grow on. And it just keeps the biodiversity out there. And at some point, who knows when the next disaster is going to be? We may need that biodiversity, which will otherwise be lost.
It's almost like bringing species back from the brink of extinction, isn't it?
Yeah, and so many have been lost because plant breeding became an art, then it became a science. And plant breeding is done for the benefit of larger growers. So they want tomatoes, for example, that will all ripen at the same time so they can pick them in one hit. They want them that will be tough-skinned so they'll travel okay. They want them so they can pick them off the plant before they're fully ripe, so by the time they get to you, which could be up to a week later, they're getting to be about edible. But what they often don't breed for is taste, because perhaps the tastiest one will have a blotch on it or an unusual shape, or it will split easily. So it's not what the supermarket wants. But my goodness, you only have to taste the difference. And it really is considerable.
So how has it been going in drumming up support for like-minded people who want to be involved in a project such as the Oxford Garden Project, who are interested in their food and why it grows well here, and I guess, cultivating and cherishing the Oxfordshire sort of horticultural history?
Yeah. I've taken 18 months off from the woodworking business to try and get these contacts. We've got really good contacts with people like the Heritage Seed Library, Centre for Alternative Technologies, Garden Organic, And we're also working with local people like the Oxford Bread Group, which I know we've spoken about before, and Vault's Restaurant, for example. Will is trialling as many locally grown varieties as he can, and we're trying to get Oxford special varieties there. So we're getting people interested in that difference. But actually finding out is time consuming. We've got to grow it. Until we grow it and say, nope, didn't like that. And no 2 years are the same. There's no such thing as a standard growing year. And the last 3 wet winters have played havoc with certain things. So, yep, in a ordinary year it might grow fine, but in wet weather it doesn't. But then it's a matter of saying this variety works whether it's wet or not, it tastes good, it's worth a bit of extra work, it's better growing in a container, however it goes, and just finding the best way. Because yeah, we're lucky, we've got a fair bit of space where we are, but not everybody has. So one of the most popular courses and talks I do is growing in small spaces, growing in containers, because everybody, if you've got a doorstep or a windowsill, there is something you can do. No, you're not going to be self-sufficient, but you just taste the difference between what you've produced and the pride of doing it. And most people get hooked really quickly.
Oh, I can tell you, this has been my first summer producing, and there's nothing quite like admiring a tomato for half an hour before you actually add it to the salad. It's a very special feeling indeed. So how can people get in touch with you, and what's the best sort of plan of action for them if they would like to get involved with your work?
OK, well, they can telephone us on Oxford 820 206. We have a new website which is just going live, not fully populated yet. Some of the elements are there, and that is either oxfordgardenproject.org or the
GP.
OGP, thank you.
Counting on my fingers as I speak, don't worry.
So we can go that way around, or the existing website, which is just longstaff.co.uk, which has all the links to what we're doing, has all the courses. We're now running courses for Oxford Adult Education in various growing, harvesting, preserving techniques. So you can actually go through those and come on one of our courses. You can come direct to us, and we're trying to do more and more through local government. So we're looking now for links, we're looking for sponsors, we're looking for people working with business in the Oxford area that perhaps want to send some of their people onto one of our courses to learn a bit more about it. We've got several restaurants now that want to send their staff, because then the people that are serving the food get a relationship with where it's coming from, and the understanding is really, really important on that.
And it is, as you were saying before, it's something that we've done as people for thousands and thousands of years. We have slightly overcomplicated things for ourselves in the recent history, comparative recent history, so it's a chance to strip it all back and really appreciate where these things are coming from.
Indeed, and we've isolated ourselves so much with it, and the growing should be a group activity. It's fun.